Gloomhaven. How did that work again? In this video, we'll walk through the things you may have forgotten since the last time you played Gloomhaven. And I put everything all together in my current characters box. It's a little bit thicker, and just everything fits in here. So all I have to do is pull that one out, so I have the characters that are actually going through the campaign. So once you've already gotten out your characters and their cards, probably the next question that you'll have is, where did I leave off? In most cases, you probably didn't decide where you're going to go next. So you probably have just earned money and you're in the city of Gloomhaven. You're able to level up if you need to. If you decide where you're going to go before you quit your game, you probably ought to write that down on the party sheet, because in most cases you'll probably have forgotten. Now, I keep the purchasable item cards separate from all the rest of the item cards so that it's easy to get to those and know which ones I can purchase. And I also have active city and road cards as distinct from the ones that have been removed from the game or the ones that have not yet been added. So that's how I keep track of which ones I can use. Since you're most likely in Gloomhaven, the first thing you'll probably want to do is to draw a city card, because you're allowed to do one city event when you're in Gloomhaven for each time you're in Gloomhaven. You should not shuffle your cards, because some of the cards are returned to the bottom of the deck. Others are thrown away from the game or torn up. I don't tear them up, I just put them in a special place. Since I can't bring myself to tearing up my cards, I actually put the ones that they say to tear up, I put them here in my box. So when I'm ready to do my city event, I will just take the top card and resolve it. So if you're playing along, go ahead and do that now. Once you've resolved your city event, the most likely thing that you'll want to do next is to level up and get your items using your gold. You'll probably want to do leveling up first if you've gained some experience that allows you to level up. And the reason is because that can affect what you can equip during an adventure. Now that you've done your city event and leveled up, it's a good time to use your gold to get items. Now, you want to do the leveling up first because that affects the number of bags that you can have. So, for example, my scoundrel at first was a level 2, and the number of bags that you can have is equal to half their level rounded up. So 2 divided by 2 and rounded up is just 1. But now that she's gone to level 3, she can actually have 2 bags. Now, all that is described on page 8. The other thing to be aware of, you can't have more than 1 copy of a particular item, so I couldn't have 2 of this particular one. So go ahead and purchase your items. But don't forget to write down the items you purchase on your character sheet. One other thing to remember is that you can sell items back to the pool for half of their value. Now that you've gotten your items, the next thing is to decide where you're going to go within the Gloomhaven universe. Since one of the interesting things is to keep up with the storyline, you may want to take a piece of paper and write down the things that happen at each scenario, each place that you encounter. If you keep track of the places that you've gone, one of the things that you can go mark down is where it leads to, and that can help you figure out where you want to go to next. To avoid spoilers, what you can do is go to a place that you've already been and then reread the conclusion to see which place that you want to go to next. I put a circle around the areas that I've visited, so now I can see which areas are possible places that I might want to go. In most cases, you'll be traveling from Gloomhaven, so make sure that you draw one of the road cards and resolve it properly before you go to your next adventure. Now that you've decided where you're going to go, the next thing is to decide the scenario level, and that's described on page 15. The typically recommended level is the average divided by 2 and rounded up. Now it's time to put the maps and monsters out for your adventure. Page 13 reminds you that enemies are the normal level with white and elite monsters are yellow, and in the upper left hand is the 2 character, upper right is 3 character, and lower side is 4 characters. Page 14 reminds you of the overlay tiles. Notice that they have colors to show you what type of overlay tile it is. For example, traps have the red border as you look at the layout. Hazardous terrain has an orange border, difficult terrain purple, and obstacles green. Doors have a purplish blue color. Don't forget to select your battle goal cards. For each character, draw 2 and then pick 1. Finally, make sure you select the cards that you're going to use for the adventure, and they're limited by your character. That's described on page 45 of the rulebook. The rulebook simply says that it has to be done at the beginning of the scenario. It doesn't say whether or not you can read the flavor text for the introduction first and select the battle goals, but I think that that makes the most sense to actually read about the actual scenario and select your battle goals. Then you can select the cards. That's how I particularly play. Now set the values for your experience and your health. Experience will be 0, and health is determined by your level on your character card. Now you're ready to play your adventure. The rest of this video will talk about the kinds of things that you might encounter during the combat or the adventure. Initiative is described on page 18. Remember that you're not supposed to see the other player's initiative or the monsters before you determine yours. For all the monsters of a given type, the elite monsters go first. This hero is attacking 2 stone golems, and so if he targets both of them, he will draw a modifier card for each of the enemy that he targets. Page 11 describes the modifier cards. If you ever draw a card that has the shuffle symbol, then at the end of the round, you shuffle all of those cards back together. So to do a short rest, you take the cards from your discard pile and you shuffle them and randomly lose one of the cards. You place the rest of the cards into your hand. If the card that you would randomly lose is a particularly good one that you want to keep, you can keep it and randomly lose a different card, but you suffer 1 damage point. The long rest has the disadvantage that you effectively lose a turn, but it has the advantage that you gain 2 health points, you can refresh any of your item cards, and you get to choose which card that you lose. When you take a long rest, your initiative is considered 99, but that's effectively just losing your turn because you cannot move or act.